Yo, what's good YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy HPOS, and today we're going to be modding the Hori Fighting Stick Mini 3. Now, if you guys have been watching my channel recently, you guys know that I've been playing a lot more fighting games, and I actually use this stick right here. This is my Quanba N1, slightly modified, shout out to my brother. So it has a Sanwa JLF, as well as some really nice Seimitsu buttons, and I've been really enjoying the stick. I have no problems with it. But recently, one of the 5-pin connectors that connects the stick to the motherboard broke, and so I had to go ahead and look into buying a new one. And when I was doing that, I started thinking about arcade parts or arcade stick parts, and that got me thinking about modding. And I really wanted to mod a stick, and I thought about a bunch of different mods I could do, but they weren't really panning out. And then I remembered that I had this little guy in the corner of my room, not being used, not hasn't been shown any love recently. So I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and mod it. Um, but little did I know that that would actually be a lot harder than I thought. What do I mean by that? So, the first thing you do when you want to mod a stick is you open it up, right? And when I opened it up, this is what I saw right here. Dun dun dun. Um, and yeah, this is a closer look. If you guys don't know what's wrong with that, like if you're new to arcade sticks or you don't see any issue, well, basically, I'm quite new to arcade sticks, but modern arcade sticks like this one right here, all the parts like the joystick and the buttons, they're all connected to the motherboard via cables. And so if you wanted to swap out, like let's say I wanted to swap out this button right here, all I would have to do is open it up, unplug the button, take it out, put a new button in, plug in the new button, and that's it. You're good to go. So everything's kind of like plug and play. But as you can see right here, every single component is soldered onto the boards. So even like the joystick is not connected with the standard connector. It uses like this. It uses 8 wires. All the buttons are soldered directly onto the board without any wires. And there's also 3 motherboards in total, like 2 sister boards and 1 motherboard instead of just one. Um, and yeah, so that was a big issue, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to mod it. So once I found out that each component was soldered onto the board, I'm not gonna lie, it did scare me a little bit, but I mean, in theory, that doesn't make it impossible to mod because all you would have to do is just desolder the old parts and then solder in the new parts. So I decided to look more into it, and then that's when I came across even more bad news, which is that this stick right here doesn't use a single standard part. So the buttons are non-standard and the stick is non-standard. And what that means is that those buttons were specifically designed for this stick, and so if you go ahead and buy like a Sanwa joystick, you can't just use that in this stick. It won't work right in the box, and the same thing for like the buttons. Um, and so I was like, damn, like it seemed impossible to mod, and a lot of people like on Reddit and stuff like that, they were also saying that it was also impossible to mod. But I didn't want to give up, so I looked more into it, and I found a very few people who had actually managed to mod the stick, and they posted some really good sources um, about how they modded it and stuff like that. So I did a bunch of research to look into it if I could mod it, and I came to the conclusion that I don't know if I can, but I'm going to go ahead and try. And the next question is, what mods do I plan to do? I had a bunch of different ideas. I wanted to like completely change the whole thing. I wanted to change out the PCB, and make it like PS5 compatible and do some crazy stuff. But I'm gonna try to keep it simple, especially because this is my first mod. And so my end goal is just to be able to upgrade the stick and upgrade the buttons. Because the stick is very firm, in my personal opinion. I feel like it takes too much force to actually get the buttons to actuate. And so I want to go ahead and change that out. And then the buttons just don't feel nice. They have a very teeny hollow sound, and they just don't feel nice at all. Oh, granted, this has been used for like over a decade, so it has, we had to show it some love. But yeah, that's my end goal, just to try and change these buttons and the joystick. Now, when looking into if I could even do that, I did find some sources that like suggested that I could, but I can't really confirm it. So the first thing I had to do was, or the first thing I decided to do was buy a soldering iron, before I bought anything else. Now that I have the soldering iron, what I'm gonna do now is desolder everything from the boards, and then take a closer look at them, and see if it's actually possible to replace them, or maybe even like Frankenstein two buttons together or two joysticks together in order for them to be able to fit into that box or into this case. But yeah, so that's basically what we're going to do now. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and try my best to desolder the components on this. So let's go. Okay, before I go ahead and start desoldering stuff, I wanted to talk about the solutions or the potential solutions that I had to address the issue of this stick not using standard parts. So first, when discussing the lever, this case is very thin, and so apparently, if you try using a standard lever, it just won't fit, and apparently it's just a few millimeters off. And basically, the way I got that information was from this video right here, which I'll put on screen. So shout out to this guy right here, Jason Hicks. He kind of did a teardown of this Hori Fighting Stick Mini 4, and basically he was the one who said that it will be a couple millimeters too big. But basically the reason why that is because normally, like a Sanwa JLF will have its own PCB, but the lever that's used in the Hori Fighting Stick Mini doesn't have a PCB. And so that's why it's a couple millimeters shorter. So that's the first issue, just being able to actually fit it into the case. And I'm hoping I'll be able to find a workaround. The second issue is that, to make a long story short, this lever is connected to this motherboard via 8 cables. Normally, give me 1 second. Normally, a lever is connected to a motherboard via this 5-pin connector right here, which basically is just 5 cables, right? And so essentially, what I'm trying to do is take a joystick that takes 5 cables and connect it to a motherboard that takes 8 cables. So obviously there's 3 cables missing. And so I was trying to figure out, like, is that even possible? And then I found a really cool item on eBay, which is this item right here. So this is a 5-pin to 8-pin cable, and I basically solved my issue. So it, plugs directly into the joystick, and the other end plugs directly into the motherboard, and it basically leaves 3 of the connectors blank. But apparently that's fine to do, and you'll still be able to use your joystick. And so if I just take this at face value, theoretically I should be able to connect like a Sanwa JLF to my particular Hori Fighting Stick Mini. The only issue is that I really wish I could just buy it, but as you can see here, this motherboard, you can't physically connect anything to it. You have to solder, and so I had to think of a way to recreate that product, but with soldering. And so I realized one day, so this is the 5-pin connector that I was talking about earlier that broke on my Quanba N1. And this cable is not useless because the reason it broke is these bend right here. Like this bend right here is causing issues. So what I could do is just cut it like right here, because the rest of this wire is still functional. And so then I would have this end which could plug into the joystick, and I would have this end which would just be exposed wire. And so what I then could do is solder this exposed wire in the same way onto that 8-pin connector, and that should allow me to use a standard Sanwa with that motherboard. So I think that's a workaround for that issue. The second issue is obviously the buttons. Now apparently the buttons are extremely tiny, and yeah, they're just not standard buttons, and apparently you're not able to use standard buttons. But I did come across another video, so shout out to this guy right here, Wega Man. He made this entire kind of 20-minute video detailing how he modded his stick, and as you can see, he did use standard buttons. So I think he did have to do a bit of modifications to the buttons, but it's possible. It seems like it's possible. So now that we kind of discussed the potential workarounds, now I'm going to go ahead and try to desolder the board just to take a closer look at the components inside. Alright, so a couple days later, and I wanted to give you guys a quick little progress report. So as you guys can see, I went ahead and took out the joystick module, and then if I show you guys the board right here, as you guys can see, I desoldered it. So that took a while. I'm not gonna lie, it took way longer than I expected, but I managed to do it. Yeah, let me quickly put it back. But yeah, it took way longer than I expected because I've never desoldered anything in my life. I never used a soldering iron in my life, so it was definitely a learning experience. I think the main issue was that my solder sucker, or my desoldering pump, whatever you want to call it, it was too weak, and so there was always like a tiny bit of solder left, and I just had to keep trying over and over again until I finally was able to actually lift the motherboard. But yeah, so now that we have this kind of empty shell right here, there's two main things we can do now. If I plop this to the side, we can look at the buttons, and then we can look at the joystick, right? And so my next step is to figure out, well, the first thing I want to focus on is the joystick. I'm going to see if I can put a standard Sanwa JLF in this case. And the second thing is the buttons. Now, as you can see, this is the actual whole button component right here. So we have the switch part, and then we have the cap. Now, obviously the most important part is the switch. And I'm going to try looking for switches that are of a similar dimension to this one. But it's going to be very difficult, I'm not going to lie to you guys, because this is very unique. So I don't know if any other company makes switches that are, number one, better than this, and then number two, that are the same size. But I'm going to go ahead and look. If not, I'm going to just look at other alternatives. But this is definitely going to be the harder part. I think the easier part is going to be trying to tackle the joystick part. Now, as you can see, it's quite thin. It's much thinner than a Sanwa JLF. So I don't know if a regular Sanwa will fit. I would try, like right now. So my plan is just to take out the JLF that's in this one. But the problem is that one of the screws is stripped. So I need to get a drill in order to take it out. So this probably going to take a couple of days for me to actually get a drill. But yeah, that's a little quick progress report. So the desoldering is done. Now we can finally move into looking at swapping out the parts. Alright, my boys, so it's been a couple of days since the last update video. I haven't made any progress in terms of the actual mod. I've just been doing a lot of research, looking into swapping out the buttons and joystick. And what's interesting is that, as far as I can tell, I'm pretty much the only person modding the Hori Fighting Stick Mini 3. A lot of people have modded the newer versions of the stick, but I can't find anybody online that has modded the Hori Fighting Stick Mini 3. And so what that means is there's pretty much no information online about modding this particular stick. And so as I'm going through the mod, it seems like I'm just discovering new stuff, which is really interesting, and it's been really fun. And the first interesting thing I discovered is with regards to the motherboard. Now, before I bought the stick, I did kind of talk to you guys about all the research I was doing. And one of the key kind of resources I used was Wegaman's video, as well as Jason Hicks' video about the Hori Fighting Stick Mini 4. And I just want to quickly show you guys, this is a zoomed in shot of Jason Hicks' video, and this is the Hori Fighting Stick Mini 4. And as you can see, there's two motherboards. I know it's quite blurry, I apologize for that, but yeah, there's two motherboards. The lower motherboard is like the one for the buttons and also the joystick, and the top motherboard is actually the main motherboard. So as you guys saw, the one at the top was the main motherboard, and that did all the processing. And so in Wegaman's video, what he did was he actually ended up removing the bottom motherboard entirely, and then with clever wiring he just attached everything to the top motherboard. But because he removed the bottom motherboard, he had a lot of space in the case, and so he was able to use different buttons and stuff like that, and it just gave him like more flexibility because he had more space. When I desoldered my before I desoldered my motherboard, all I could see was the back of it. And as you can see, number one, there's 3 of them, which is kind of confusing. And me, as well as a bunch of other people in the Fight Stick Discord, we just kind of guessed that the top one would be the main one that did all the processing, and the bottom 2 were kind of sister motherboards, which they don't actually do any processing, but they just send the signals for the buttons and the joystick. Now that I desoldered it and I turned it around, and to be double sure, I sent some pictures to like modders on the Fight Stick Discord. They confirmed that this motherboard right here is the main one. So we thought that this was the main one. Actually, it's this one. So yeah, the bottom motherboard is the main motherboard. And that's really bad news because I can't copy Wegaman in the sense that I can't take out those two bottom motherboards. And so what that means is, this is the problem in summary. If I want to use this motherboard, I have to use this switch. And if I don't want to use this switch, then I can't use this motherboard, so I have to buy a new motherboard. Because motherboards are quite expensive, and I'm trying to keep this mod as cheap as possible, I want to keep this motherboard. And so what that means is I have to use the switch, because this switch, and in particular these pins, which are very small, are the only pins that will fit into the motherboard. And so that's a problem. And so I did a lot of research and I came up with two solutions to that problem. Alright, so with regards to the two kind of solutions I came up with, the first one is the more fun one, and I'm pretty proud of this because I feel like it's a very creative solution. And so anyways, I decided to call it the Frankenstein method. And so what the Frankenstein method is basically, obviously, like I said, the problem is that I want to use a different switch, but I can't use a different switch because the motherboard only accepts this pin right here, or these pins. There's a bunch of switches out there that are much better than these Hori ones, but these Hori ones seem to be like the only ones that have these pins. And so that's the problem, right? And so one day I was looking at the switch and I realized there's like this line that goes all the way around the switch. And so actually I might be able to just show you guys. There we go. I don't know if you guys can see that line, but basically it runs all the way around the switch. And so even like right here, you can kind of see that it looks like you can pull the top part off the switch. And so one day I was like, can I do that? And so what I did was I got a really thin flathead screwdriver and I jammed it in that little line, and I was actually able to open up the switch. And so this is what I got right here. So this is I'm just gonna refer to this as the bottom of the switch because, you know, if that's a switch, the pins are at the bottom. So this is the bottom part of the switch, and as you can see, the pins are kind of stuck to this part, but that's fine, and that's actually really good. And so because what this means is that I can buy a better switch, and I can just take the bottom of that switch off, and then I can stick this, which is the bottom of the Hori, I can stick that onto the new switch, and then what I will end up with is this like Frankenstein switch that is better quality because it came from like a better switch, but the bottom has the right pins. And so I hope that makes sense. I'll just quickly show you guys like what I mean a little bit more. So this is Wegaman's video, and he ended up using this button right here, and this button is called the PS14D from Seimitsu. But basically the switch, I can't remember the exact name of the switch. I think it's just the PS14D switch or something like that. But basically this switch fits perfectly into the case. And so what that means is that it should be like the exact same kind of size and this, or very similar size, very similar dimensions to this switch, because it's compatible with the case, right? It fits exactly in. But so I would just buy that button and that switch, but the problem is the pins. And so the idea is you buy this button or you buy the switch because it's compatible with the case, and then what you do is you just take off the bottom of the switch, and then you replace it with the bottom of the Hori switch, and then what you'll end up with is the Frankenstein switch that is better quality because it's a Seimitsu button, but it has the necessary pins that fit with the motherboard. And yeah. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully I explained that okay. But that's the first kind of potential solution that you could try. But I'm going to end up. I'm kind of sad because I do want to try that, but there is a better solution, which is just to replace the switch. So I didn't think there would be any replacements, but it turns out there are, or there is. There's one replacement for the switch, and I actually found it a long time ago. I just didn't realize it, but this is it. So this is the Tokai MM9-2. And as you can see from the pictures, it looks the exact same as the ones in the Hori. But it's from this brand called Tokai. Now, from my research, there's not really much information about them. But from what I understand, Tokai is this Japanese switch manufacturer. And they make a lot of switches. And their switches are apparently like really good quality. Like a lot of people like their switches. And so on the Fight Stick Discord, I mentioned my Frankenstein method. And one of the people they just basically said, that's a lot of hassle. Instead, just buy a Tokai MM9-2 because the Tokai is guaranteed to be better quality than the Hori switches because Tokai is an actual button manufacturer. And yeah, just buy the Tokai MM9-2 and you'll be good to go. The problem with that is, number one, these look the exact same as the Hori. Like there's like no visual difference, which I kind of understand why now, and I'll cover that in a few moments. But even if assuming they are better, there's like nowhere to buy them online. Like as you can see, this website is sold out, and if I go ahead and just search Tokai MM9-2, as you can see, there's like no website. Like no website sells this Tokai MM9-2. They're all like videos, and like after the first page, all these results have nothing to do with that switch, and there's no website that sells them. So it was very hard to find a website that sold it. Eventually, I did find one, and I'm really glad I was able to find one. So this is Small Cap, which I believe is a French, I believe it's a French kind of online store that sells arcade parts. But yeah, Small Cap actually has the MM9-2 in stock, and you can actually buy 8 of them, which is really cool. And yeah, so this is awesome. This is really good news because what this means is I can just buy these Tokai MM9-2 and it will be a perfect replacement for my Hori switches because they're the exact same size and shape and pins and whatever, but they're just better quality. The one thing I did want to kind of go back to was that, as you can see, like as I mentioned, these switches look the exact same. But I think so Tokais, I believe, have a specific logo. And it's this kind of diamond logo right here, if I'm not mistaken. So it says TKC. So there's 3 letters TKC, and it's in this sort of diamond shape. And I have these Seimitsu buttons that are on my my main stick. And I'm going to try and show off the logo. I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see. Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys can see on camera, but yeah, basically what I was trying to say is that even this switch has that same logo, the TKC logo, and this switch feels amazing. This switch feels really good, and it has the same logo. And the MM9-2 that's sold by Small Cap, they also have this logo in the middle. So this one, I'm not sure why there's no logo in the middle. I think this must be like a clone and not an official Tokai. But I believe this one actually is an official Tokai because, although it's hard to see, there is that diamond-shaped logo with the letters TKC in the middle. And so yeah, I'm fairly confident that this switch is actually going to be an upgrade because it is an official Tokai, as far as I can tell. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. Unfortunately, it is shipping from France, but hopefully the shipping will be fine. And yeah, so I'm basically going to end up buying these MM9-2s from Small Cab. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the button replacement done. And yeah, the one thing I wanted to mention was the stick. An update on the stick. This is the Soundbar JLF. I'm still dealing with this stupid strip screw. I haven't been able to take it off. I tried the rubber mat method. I tried scotch tape. I tried everything. It's not working. So I'm gonna have to use a drill. So hopefully tomorrow I can get a drill and just break that screw. But once I do that, I'll basically try to fit the JLF into the case. If I'm not able to, one idea I had was these are the switches for the JLF, and these are like the stock switches. So I can try to stick these into this kind of case, and hopefully that will work as well. But yeah, next update, hopefully I'll have a lot more progress. See you then. Alright, my boys, so I wanted to quickly film my first reaction to the switches. So the switches came. I don't know if you can. Yeah, you can't really see them through the packet, but this is it. They came from France, and they actually came pretty quickly. I'm pretty surprised with how quickly they came, considering they had to come from France. I was a bit worried that, well, Small Cab, which is the company that I bought from, shout out to them. They had good reviews, so I wasn't really worried about that. But the postage company had some bad reviews, but I give them a great review because they delivered them well on time, and actually a bit faster than I expected. I thought they were gonna come later in the week, so I'm pretty happy. I'm very nervous to open this up because, as with a lot of this project, a lot of the info about the certain parts and stuff isn't known, and one of those is these Tokai MM9-2s. I know that they should be the exact same as the ones in the Hori, but in terms of their quality, I haven't had anybody actually own these exact switches and give me like a good review. As in, like, I haven't known anybody that owned these switches. Okay, whoa. I just looked, and earlier I mentioned that they had to have like that certain logo to be authentic Tokais, and I didn't see it, but they are there. They do have that logo. This is the packet. I'm scared to open it just because, like, I spent, like, it wasn't too expensive, but I spent a substantial amount of money to get them, and like most of it was the shipping, to be honest with you. Without the shipping, they're actually pretty cheap, but with the shipping, it was a fair bit expensive. Okay, I'm gonna move them to the side. I'm not gonna lie, first glance they look the exact same as the Horis, so let's see if I can get it to focus. Alright, wait a second, give me a second. I want to be able to focus. Damn. Alright, my bad, guys. Like, I don't know why it's not focusing. But yeah, they look like the exact same as the Horis, which is good, because that means it will probably be compatible. This is the switch right here. These are the original Tokais. And this is a Hori switch. And yeah, they literally look the exact same. Same dimensions, same everything. Yeah, literally the exact same dimensions. I don't want to mix them up because I spend money on them. But now I'm scared to press it down, bro. But here we go. I'll be honest with you. They feel better. They feel better. The thing with the Hori, I mean, I knew they weren't gonna feel like different, like super different, because it's just a button at the end of the day. But the Hori one, and they're hit and miss, honestly. The one that I opened up and like ripped apart, that one started to feel better. But a lot of these Hori ones, like this Hori one's fine. But this Hori one, like the click isn't super linear. Like you can hear that. It's like a bit of like, it's a bit rough. So yeah, the Tokais, very smooth. They do be smooth, I can't lie, they do be smooth. Let me pick up another one. Yeah, let's go, buddy. Let me put on one of the caps. and test it out. I just realized I'm not gonna confuse them because they all have the actual logo. The caps fit on as well, so that's good. Yeah, it's nice. I'm not gonna lie, I'm happy I bought them. I was worried that I'm gonna have to like put it on for the camera, but genuinely, that click is like, it's hard to describe because it's still a switch, but it's just linear. It's just smooth. There's like no resistance, especially because it's brand new. So that's good. I'm happy. So let's go. That's a W. That's a W. Alright, so it's been a couple of days, and I wanted to tell you guys a couple of things. The main thing, or the first thing, is that I lied. Or rather, I just made a big mistake. And I realized I haven't clarified it until now. Basically, if you think back to when I was talking about the original Hori joystick and how it was connected to the motherboard, I said that the Hori joystick had cables that were connected to the switches, and those cables were then soldered onto the motherboard. And that turned out to be wrong. I think the reason I thought that was because I knew the buttons were soldered onto the motherboard, and I couldn't see underneath the motherboard, so I just assumed that the cables were soldered onto the motherboard, but that was wrong. So I have the original switches here. These are the switches from the joystick, and as you can see, there are cables that are directly connected to the switches, but then these cables are then kind of inserted into this plastic part, which I believe this plastic part is called a harness. And then this harness is just connected or plugged directly into the motherboard. So yeah, no soldering in terms of the cables to the motherboard. They're just directly plugged in. And so that's actually really good news, because what that means is I don't have to solder any joystick cables onto the motherboard. Instead, I can just plug them in. And that's also cool because early in the video I mentioned that 5-pin to 8-pin connector, and I said I talked about how I couldn't buy that. Turns out I can buy that now, but instead of buying that, I'm probably going to go ahead and just try to recreate it. So I'm just going to reuse this white plastic part, aka the harness. I think that's what it's called, I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to reuse this and then attach my regular Sanwa cable into this, and yeah, basically try to make my own 5-pin to 8-pin connector, and I'm just going to use that picture as a reference in terms of the wiring, and that should be good. So that's the plan. Now, in terms of the actually using the Sanwa into the Hori, I mentioned a bunch of times how I couldn't do it because I needed a drill to take the metal bracket off the Sanwa, and it turns out I didn't need to do that at all. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to this picture right here. There we go. So this is a very blurry photo, but this is the final kind of joystick assembly that I've decided to use. So to break it down, it's pretty much all of this is the Sanwa. The only thing that's from the Hori is this white part right here. And the reason you need this white part is because the top plate of the Hori has a square kind of hole, I guess you could say, and this white part fits directly into that and kind of stabilizes the joystick. But that's pretty much the only piece I've used in the Hori. There was one more, which is like there's like a white kind of hemisphere, I guess you could say, that sits on top of this white part right here. So yeah, I've used that as well. Everything else is pretty much from the Sanwa. So the metal stick, to the switches, to the gate, to the spring, to the C clip, I think that's called, or the E clip. Everything's from the Sanwa. And yeah, this configuration works really surprisingly well. The problem I was having was that the Sanwa switches are directly attached to this PCB, and with this PCB, the white gate from the Hori doesn't close down. But funnily enough, the gate from the Sanwa has these like plastic, I don't know what you would call them, but it's tiny plastic pieces that stick out, that protrude, and they plug directly into like these little holes on the switches. So it just turns out that with this assembly, everything holds together, even though the gate is not screwed in to the switches at all, and the gate is not even attached to this top white bracket. everything still holds together. Um, I have seen some people basically drill some holes into the gate to screw it down, and I think that's a good idea as well. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try to avoid that because I haven't managed to get a drill. But yeah, so this is, I just want to quickly show you guys this assembly. If you have any questions about it in particular, let me know. But you should be able to recreate this quite easily. Just experiment with the parts. But yeah, essentially most of this is the Sanwa. Only this white bracket is from the Hori, and there's another like hemisphere that kind of sits on that white bracket, and that's also from the Hori. So yeah, that is the joystick, but I have even more news. Alright, so I talked to you guys about the new joystick module, but one important thing to note is that the joystick module is actually too tall. So it fits nicely into the top panel, but it's too tall, so that and so basically the back panel won't close, and the case won't close because it's just too big. Like the inside of the case of the original Hori is like really tiny, and so yeah, it just wasn't working out. So I had to figure out a way to to make it fit. So I contacted the only person I know in the whole world who actually managed to fit a JLF inside their Hori Fighting Stick Mini. I asked them how they did it, and from what I can remember, they basically had to drill a hole into the back panel to accommodate for the JLF. But then the next issue is that the JLF will just be exposed, and obviously you don't want that. And so they had to kind of figure a way to add another kind of another layer on top of the back panel to cover the JLF, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but hopefully it does. And so they basically used like some foam padding, and they managed to like create some extra space for the JLF and also cover it at the same time. But anyways, that solution just didn't, for me personally, it just didn't look good at all, and I didn't really want to go that route because I definitely knew there should be a better solution out there. And so what I ended up doing to fix this problem was I phoned a friend. So I called my guy Farhan. Farhan is one of my really good friends. He's an engineering student, and he also owns a really nice 3D printer. So I called him up, and actually before I go into the story, I want to give a huge shout out to Farhan. Farhan, if you're watching this, thank you so much, bro. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate everything you did. But yeah, Farhan basically saved this project, in all honesty. So basically, I called him up, and I told him the issue, and I asked him a very simple question. I said, can you 3D print a new backplate that's a bit taller so that the JLF will actually fit inside the case? And he told me to send him a picture of the backplate next to a ruler. Now for me, if you sent me this picture, like this is the picture I sent him right here. If you sent me this picture, I would not know what to do with it. But my guy Farhan is a lot smarter than me. So he started 3D modeling it just from a picture. And then later on, I ended up giving him the actual backplate, and I gave him the whole case. And he started working and tweaking the design, because this 3D model doesn't exist, so he had to make it himself. And so yeah, over the next few days, he's been tweaking and adjusting the 3D model to make it as accurate as possible. And yeah, it's actually coming along really, really nicely. And the reason I'm kind of making this or recording this now is because we're almost at the end of it. The 3D model is almost perfect, and so that's really exciting. So hopefully that'll be done in the next few days. What I wanted to show you guys one other thing. So this picture right here is the filament that I bought. So this is what the material that we're going to use to 3D print the actual backplate. But as you can see, it's yellow. Now you might be wondering, HBoss, why did you buy yellow filament? You could use black or white or whatever. Why did you buy yellow? And if you guys know me, you guys know that I love yellow Kirby. Yellow Kirby is my main in Smash Bros. Ultimate. I don't main Kirby, I main yellow Kirby. And yeah, I just love him so much. And because of my love for yellow Kirby, I started maining characters in fighting games that have yellow alts. So like in Third Strike, I play yellow Ken, and in M-Back, I play yellow Hime. So I try to like only play yellow color characters, or characters with the yellow alts. That's what I tried to do. And basically one day Farhan told me, he said, yo, I realized I could actually add designs to the 3D part. And then we kind of worked on some designs, and he landed on this. He came up with this by himself, and this is so sick, bro. So you can see my name, HBoss, and you can see it's actually curved, so that's really cool. And then just underneath that, we have the homie Kirby. And so when he actually 3D printed it, I thought it looked so sick. But then I remembered I only, play yellow Kirby's. I was like, bro, I'm gonna buy some yellow filaments and let's 3D print it in yellow. And so yeah, the plan is we're gonna. He's still working on the kind of the final adjustments for the back panel. So once that's done, we're gonna 3D print it in yellow. I'm also gonna I'm gonna ask him to hopefully 3D print some new button covers also in yellow. And then I've already went ahead and bought a yellow ball top. So we're gonna use this as well. And so yeah, with all those kind of three, the back panel, the button covers, and the ball top, we'll have a nice black and yellow color scheme. And so that's really lit. And the one other thing that's kind of that I bought is this right here. And if you don't know what this is the Link EX groove. Now this is from a company called Freak Mods, and this is like a joystick, or the metal part of the joystick, but this is designed specifically so that you can actually take it apart. And so what this means is if you ever want to remove your joystick, you can. And that's really good for like traveling and stuff, because that's the hardest part of traveling with an arcade stick. The joystick is always sticking out, and you don't want to break it or anything. But yeah, with this mod right here, I should be able to just take off the joystick whenever I want, and that'll make traveling with it a lot easier. I'm not 100% sure if it will work with the Stonewall JLF. It should do. The only reason I'm kind of doubting it is because obviously it's not a regular kind of Stonewall JLF. It's a slightly Frankenstein JLF, but hopefully it will work. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's all the progress we've made so far. Now you guys are fully caught up. So yeah, really exciting stuff. Honestly, with this 3D printing stuff, this project went from being like, I don't know, B tier to like S plus tier. It's really, really exciting, and I'm feeling a lot more excited about it. I just think the final product is going to be even way better than I imagined. And so yeah, I'm really happy. I'm really excited. So now basically I just have to wait for a few days until the 3D prints are all ready. Once they're ready, the only thing left to do is to solder on or resolder the motherboards, which I'm very nervous for because desoldering was hard enough, so I think soldering might be a bit harder, but hopefully that goes well. And then once I do that, that's it. The mod will be over and we'll have the new joystick. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. But I will record again once the 3D models are actually ready. Alright, my boys, so it's been a while. I'm not gonna lie, I already recorded this video, but then I realized that my mic was off the entire time. But yeah, it's been a while. I can't remember exactly how long it's been since the last update. I think it's been a month. But I really don't have much time, so I'm gonna quickly give you guys a recap of what's happened basically since then. So pretty much throughout the month of May, a lot of uni students have exams. So my exams finished on the 21st, but my friend who was doing the 3D prints, his finished on the 27th. And I'm actually flying to Dubai on the 30th, which is today, technically, because right now it's 12:35 a.m. So yeah, basically, before his exams, he wasn't able to finish the 3D prints. So he said he would finish it the second he finished his exams. So from the 27th, he started working on it, and he was only able to deliver it to me like an hour ago. So I really don't have much time to finish the project. I really want to finish it before I go though. So that's basically we're gonna speed run the rest of the project. But yeah, basically he went and he did the 3D prints, and I'm not gonna lie, they are so beautiful, man. I think he did a really good job, so shout out to him. But yeah, I'm gonna show you guys what they look like right now. So I'm gonna start with the front. This is the front. So as you guys can see, he 3D printed the face buttons. Oh, there they are. He 3D printed the face buttons. They look good. I'm gonna show you guys the back now, and get ready for this. This is actually kind of crazy. Boom. So as you guys can see, he 3D printed the back, and look at the detail, man. You got the HBoss, got the Kirby, And then I told him you have to put your own logo on it, or like your name or something. So then he added, bro, this is so confusing. He added his little logo right there. So yeah, shout out to him. I don't know if he wants me to say his name. I don't know if I already have. But yeah, so I'm not gonna say his name right now, but I'll check the footage. If he wants me to say his name, I'll say his name. But yeah, shout out to him because he did such a good job, man. This is beautiful. But yeah, so now that I have this, I can finally finish off the project. Real quick, I want to show you guys another cool thing, which I've been hiding. So you guys know I bought the Freak, what's it called? I bought this, the Link EX Groove from Freak Mods, and I've managed to, I was worried that it wouldn't fit in this case, but it does, it fits perfectly, so there it is. It looks pretty ridiculous because it's so beefy and the rest of the stick is tiny. But yeah, that's it. That's the Link EX Groove. And also the yellow ball top. So I think altogether everything looks so nice. It looks way better than the original. The color of the ball top doesn't exactly match the yellow of the 3D printed material, I guess you could say. But it's pretty darn close. So I'm really happy with how it looks visually. Yes, I'm happy that I got the Link EX Groove on it. Now what I need to do is, since I don't have much time, my plan is right now is to fix the wiring for the JLF. So I have to fix the wiring, and I'm gonna go to bed, wake up, do the soldering. I'm gonna solder the switches onto the motherboard, and if all goes to plan, this will be ready by, or like just before I leave for the airport. So it's a bit of a rush, so I'm gonna go ahead and fix up the wiring now, and hopefully the JLF will work with the motherboard. There won't be any problems, and yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that now, and I'll come back to you guys with an update. Alright boys, so it has been like an hour and a half or 2 hours. I think I'm finally finished the wiring. I'm gonna do the final test live on camera, but it was super difficult because let me show you guys the screen. I was basically using these two like guides. Basically I was using this and this, and then plus the other pictures that I had taken before. But yeah, so I was trying to make sense of it all, and then I had this weird issue where only one button, it was registering all the buttons, but it thought they were all up. And this guy on Discord, on the Fight Stick Discord, so shout out to the Fight Stick Discord, you guys should join it. He basically said you probably wired 4 of them to ground and only 1 of them to up. And so that's when I realized that that's when I realized that this diagram might be wrong, or it might not be applicable to my specific scenario, because I put the direction cables on the top and then the ground cable on the bottom. But in my case, I actually had to put the direction cables on the bottom and the ground cable on the top, if that makes sense. So anyways, yeah, I followed that guy's suggestion and it worked, and I'm going to do the final test now. I don't know how else to test it, so I'm just going to use this. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and clear all of these. And now, if I hold the Fight Stick, or you guys can't see the Fight Stick, I'm going to push it up. Oh wait, I need to go to the up. I'm going to push it up. Okay, 1. I'm going to push it down. Let's go 2. I'm going to push it left. 3. One more, come on. Let's go! You guys don't understand how hard that was, bro. I almost got electrocuted 9 times. I almost blew it up 9 times. We did it. Yeah, so basically all we have to do now, like the wiring is done. I had to do all this, oh, sorry about that. This super complicated wiring right here. Definitely not like a professional job or anything. I even put some electrical tape because somebody told me I need to put electrical tape to make sure they don't touch. So I put electrical tape over the one that touches 2. But yeah, this is done. So now all I need to do, I'm just gonna clean my room and go to bed. When I wake up, I'm going to get to the soldering, and then it's going to be ready, my boys. I'm so excited. I'm actually so excited. But yeah, alright, I'm going to quickly go to bed because I don't have much time, and I'm going to see you guys in the morning. Alright guys, so it is 8 a.m. in the morning. I woke up at 7 and I basically just finished soldering the switches. And as you guys can see, oops, wait. Oh man. Alright, there we go. As you guys can see, the switches are all soldered. Honestly, it was very easy. I was worried that it was going to be super difficult and I was going to have problems. It was really easy. I think desoldering was a lot harder because I didn't have solder wick, so I was using this really bad desoldering pump. So that's why it took so long. But with soldering, I mean, it's really simple. And I watched this tutorial that was really useful, and yeah, I was able to do it quite fast. I wasn't trying to rush it, but I did it in like 15 minutes or 20 minutes. So really not that long at all. But yeah, now what I'm gonna do, I feel pretty confident that it works. And also I did test out the joystick last night before I went to bed, and that worked already. So all I have to do now is close up the case and then do the final test and make sure the switches are all working. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Alright boys, so I have it all screwed in. I didn't do it too tight just in case I need to open it up again. But now we're gonna go ahead and do the final test. I'm so nervous. I really hope all the buttons work. And if they do, we finally did it. But we don't want to celebrate too early. Also, I don't know why, but I have 3 extra screws. I'm so confused right now. I don't know what they're for. I'm trying to think, but I can't remember because it was so long since I last opened it up. But yeah, let's see. Let's see if it works. It's plugged in right now. Alright, let's see if we hear the sound. Okay, there's a sound, there's a sound. Alright, let's go over here. I'm gonna clear all the inputs, and then we're gonna try set them one by one. Alright, let's do the main ones. Up. I mean, we kind of know this already works, but let's just test it again. Nice. Alright, now for the main test. Yo, 1, 2. Oh yeah, that's the wrong one. Yo! Medium kick. Alright, and then we need to double check these. Let's go! They work! They all work! Let's go! Let's go! Ya Allah the Almighty. Alright boys, that's it. We've done it. We've done it. Let's go. He's complete. The beauty, the beast, he's complete, bro. Let's go. Let's go. Alright, now what I'm gonna go ahead and play with this thing. I'm gonna go ahead and play some Street Fighter, test it out, make sure I enjoy it, and then this is coming with me to Dubai, bro. Let's go. my boys. So we are here in Dubai, as you can see. I'm not gonna lie, I've been here for the past month, bro. I've been here for over a month. I just keep forgetting to record. But yeah, I want to quickly end this video off with a tiny kind of conclusion, I guess you could say. So over the past month, I've been testing out the beast, the Hori Mini, and I have to say I've been pleasantly surprised with how well it performs. Obviously I built it like hours, or I finished it like hours before my flight, so I didn't really get to test it properly. So while I've been here, I've been testing it on a bunch of different games, practicing all the old combos that I learned on those games and stuff like that. And it did take a tiny bit of getting used to, especially because of its size and stuff like that. But yeah, once I kind of got through that few-day adjustment period, I've been really enjoying it. And so much so that I mean, I've brought my main stick. I went through the hassle of bringing this giant thing, but I don't use this thing. Like, I'm not saying that the Hori is gonna replace it, definitely not. I think the reason I've been using this so much is because it's just been fun. But yeah, I brought the stick, but I never once, while using the Hori, felt like it was like really holding me back or anything. So I think the intention I had with building it was that it was just gonna be a good travel stick. But genuinely, this is a good stick. Like, if you told me I had to play in a tournament with this stick, I wouldn't like feel like I was being handicapped, if that makes sense. So I still think my main stick is better. When I go back to the UK, I'm gonna start using that a lot more. But yeah, I'm definitely really happy with how well this turned out. So yeah, I just wanted to end the video by saying that overall this project was definitely a dub. And I really want to thank you guys so much for watching. I know it was such a long video, but I think it's cool how I got to record the entire process and how it all kind of worked out in the end. And yeah, so I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna do a proper kind of review of the stick later on, kind of reviewing the final product. And yeah, so be on the lookout for that. And who knows, maybe in the future I might do another project. Who knows? Who can say? But yeah, with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care and peace.